So I did a poll and I asked you guys what video I should do next. And my friend Matthew from the YouTube channel Living Differently, he told me family life and interacting with family more of your siblings and how your um, being paralyzed affect the unit pretty much. And that's a very great question. So I actually did a collab with him. If you want to check it out, I'll be leaving a link in the comments where we talked about when is it okay to need help after a spinal cord injury. Bri, how's it going? So yeah, because I know a lot of people don't like to have help after spinal cord injury. So we discussed all that. I'll be leaving that video in the comments. So my dad used my dad used to help out a lot in the beginning. Uh, he used to help me. He used to shower me like a baby. He used to shower me like a baby, and he used to help me change, cut my toenails, put socks and shoes on, and pick me up after I fall. And he has rods in his back, so yeah. And I made a video and I discuss about why I end up learning to transfer back after a fall, and I actually made a video about that, and I'll be leaving a link to that video in the comments as well. So, so yeah, those. I'm just reading my notes to make sure I'm on track. For those that are wondering. So I ended up learning like when I fell this one time outside, I kind of like felt kind of useless and like I couldn't do nothing, and I felt like I had to rely on my dad all the time. And so that's when I decided to always like to practice in my room how to get back up after I fall until I got it right. And then that's when I started YouTube. But anyways, and in rehab they'll teach you some things. Let me see. Oh wait, hold on. And for those that are wondering why didn't I go to rehab or did I go to rehab, because they'll teach you how to transfer. I'll tell you that story in a bit about the rehab thing. So anyways, so even though I'm pretty independent, as you can see in most of my videos, I'm pretty independent. I can shower and do everything myself. I still do need help from my family. And that's why I'm making a video talking about some things that my father or my family has to help me with, even though I'm still pretty independent. So my father, he has to cook. He'll meal prep for me to make sure I'm eating, and he monitors if I'm eating. If not, then he'll know. So he'll meal prep, make sure I have high calorie, high protein diet, and I can make a whole separate video about why I need to eat. Besides the fact I lost like 30 pounds since my injury, but I gained some weight back anyways. So, and then another thing my dad does help me with is he does my laundry. So, and I see a lot of paras, they do their own laundry. That's very impressive. And I'm very proud of you for those that do your own laundry, because trying to reach in and it's just, especially no core stability. Anyways, my dad will also order my medications and pick them up because I'm in a wheelchair and I cannot just get my medications because I don't have a car with a hand control or anything. So, anyways, and my dad, he will stock the restroom with like my supplies with the catheters and make sure I have baby wipes in there. And he'll clean my restroom. And he'll also try to order me try to order me certain equipment through insurance. And for those I know, it's really hard to try to get your medical stuff through insurance because it's back and forth with all that. Trying to get a new wheelchair, which has been about a year now, and I have a standing frame. So yeah, my dad's going to like tell you a little bit like how it is trying to like go back and forth with insurance. Just a real quick summary. Like, how difficult was it to try to give me the supplies that I need?
For getting him his supplies, a lot of it is you can request what you think he needs, but it's up to the insurance company to say yay or nay. And a lot of the times it goes back to whether it's a primary or a specialty doctor to go ahead and put in the request through the insurance company, whether he needs it or not, and they have to justify why he needs it. Um, just to give you an example, because he's a paraplegic, he can't stand up in front of a mirror to look at his backside and see if he needs to take care of or start monitoring any pressure sores that he may have. So in rehab, he was given a mirror to go ahead and be able to look at the wounds himself or to take a look at his backside. And it's about a 12 to 18-inch mirror with about a 6-inch mirror head at the end of it. But it's a flex mirror. And we had put in the request to the insurance company and got denied, I believe it was 9 times before they finally approved it. And the only reason they approved it because I had to go through the appeals board with the state of California. So between the state, Medicare, and his insurance company, we had a virtual hearing, and their biggest thing was why can't he stand up and look in the mirror himself? So a lot of times it comes down to these individuals don't see the notes or they don't read the notes on what the conditions are,
Especially,
and that's where the problem came in.
especially in the hospitals. When you go in the hospital, they don't read their notes, like my father just said. They don't read their notes that, oh, he's paralyzed, he needs an air mattress, or he'll get pressure sores, or it doesn't seem like some people like really look at the notes. And so it's hard to get certain supplies because they don't know I'm paralyzed. Just like with my SSI, some thought I'll probably be able to walk one day, but that wasn't the case. So it's just back and forth with my father. He had to like pretty much uh, do like an appeal or something. He has to go to like a higher person to try to get a mirror, a flex mirror, which took a while to get, as he just said. Um, so yeah, my dad, he will, like I said, he'll pick up my meds and then he'll set up my appointments, take me to my appointments. And sometimes, because we don't have a van or anything, and it's very hard for him to break it down, my wheelchair, and put in a small car and leave in the comments below if you know what that's like. Anyways, so see, yeah, what is it like for you? Like, do you get tired always breaking down my wheelchair? Because just looking at you doing that, I get tired.
A lot of times, I mean, after it's been 3.5 years, so it's come down to a routine.
Mhm.
We do have a van, but the van is in the shop still, and
Yeah.
it's been down since November. So a lot of it's just trying to get items fixed on it. But as far as breaking down the wheelchair, it's come down to what makes it easier for me.
Yeah, I don't know if you could see, but I have a really bulky wheelchair. Somebody said I have a wheelchair. Oh, I have a really bulky wheelchair. I don't know if you see. Anyways, and somebody in the comments was like, "You're a good looking dude, but you have it's a freaking wheelchair. It looks like a World War Two, something from the World War Two." That's really funny, and that's the great comment because it's been almost a year trying to get this new wheelchair, which is lighter than this because I don't need this big backrest as much as I did back then, but I'm still paralyzed midways. But they're just gonna have a smaller backrest but raise it up pretty much, so it's gonna be lighter. So it's back and forth with insurance. My dad has to handle all that, and it's been a hassle for about a year, I think. So yeah, and so when my dad does take me, get down, man. When my dad does take me to my uh get down, my dog wants to get up. When my dad does order or not order, request for a ride to my appointments, sometimes they leave us stranded, and sometimes go me. Sometimes they'll leave us stranded, and I have a pressure on my butt, and I'm not supposed to be sitting. Brian, what's something that affects you and your dad the hardest after your accident? What affects me the hardest after my accident? Hmm. I'll say, well, I'm going to give you my opinion. I think what affects me the hardest is always getting sick, such as getting UTIs, like infections. I had a bone infection from pressure sore. So pretty much dealing with pressure sores and getting sick, I think that's something that affects the hardest because it takes time from my takes my dad's time away from my siblings, to visit them and things like that. So that's my opinion. Getting sick all the time. What something that affects the hardest?
Hospital stays are the hardest.
Oh yeah.
Always tend to speak on his behalf at the hospital as to why he needs certain things. And there's a portable filing cabinet that I take with us when we go to the hospital because it has his whole medical history from this injury. And just from his injury alone, he has like 15. It's a 1,500 page document that shows everything on there from his situation from beginning to when he was discharged from the hospital itself. So I mean that's the biggest one is the hospital stays,
Mm.
trying to justify why he needs certain things.
And real quick, I'm sorry to cut you off. And then also justifying why he has to stay with me at the hospital. And I can make a separate video about why I need him or somebody to stay with me at the hospital. So yeah, my dad pretty much had to set up camp, you could say, at the hospitals. So so yeah, so hopefully that answered your question, Bri, and that's a very great question. So most times, so yeah, when I'm at the hospital, most times it's usually a month. Like when I had my surgery, I had like 3 surgeries, not the one included when I died from when I was shot. Anyways, so the ones that I noticed, I had 3 surgeries, and that was because of a pressure sore. And so I had to stay at the hospital for a month, and I get tired of the nurses just waking me up all the time. Anyways, so I'm staying at the hospital for a month. My dad's also staying at the hospital for a month. So yeah. And the hospital that we go to is not even close to where I'm at. It's usually like 2 hour drive, I think, because there's nothing good here in my area in California. So yeah. Um, Let me see. So yeah, and when I was in the hospital and I ended up getting out, I have a pick line. Let me see. It's a little faded right now, but I had a pick line on my arm because I was in the hospital for a month and they didn't want me to just stay there for another month or so, and so they sent me home with the pick line to get medication after my surgery for the bone infection. And so my family they had to rotate. It was my sister, my mom, and my dad. I think it was those three that rotated. My sister was my caregiver first, and then my dad's my caregiver. But anyways, so how was it like your opinion of getting up? I think it was like 3 or 4 times a day. You had to do like the flush it and then give me the medication through the pick line. How was it like getting up 6 in the morning, or
Two
always?
o'clock in the morning,
Oh,
6 in the morning.
yeah.
Yeah, it was tiring because at the same time I was diagnosed when he had his bone infection. I was also diagnosed with cancer, kidney cancer, and when he went in for surgery to deal with the bone infection, I went into surgery a few days after I knew he was okay
Mm.
to have the cancer removed, and I was in the hospital for about 5 days while he was recovering.
Mhm.
Um, and then coming home myself, I came home a few days before he did, and it was fresh wounds on top of his fresh wounds. So it was stressful going back and forth, tiring because myself I was tired as well from the surgery. So it was, it's never ending battle.
Yeah.
That's the way I got to look at it.
And
Every day is different for him.
and then also before he had surgery, he had cancer like when I was paralyzed. So I'm pretty sure that kind of made him drained out as well. So yeah, like he mentioned, we pretty much had surgery at the same time, but he waited until after I had my surgery and he knew that I should be good. because he didn't want to have surgery and then something happens to me at the hospital or after my surgery that he needs to come. So it's pretty much like a safety thing. So he had to make sure I was okay before he had his own surgery, which is very big, because he had cancer, and so and for him to postpone that means a lot. So, anyways, and when I was bedbound, I had to do my bowel movement and bladder and bowel movement on the bed, and I can make separate video as well on how I did that. I had to do that for about 2 months. And so my dad or my sister or my mom, they would empty out my urinal. It's kind of disgusting, just what I mean. Like, uh, just like after my surgery, I'm very independent, but I had to humble myself, which I explained in that video, the collab video I did with Matthew, my friend from the YouTube channel Living Differently. And like I mentioned, I'll be leaving the link to his video that we collab with in the comments. Anyways, and so I had to humble myself and accept help, which is what I discussed in that video. So I'll do my bowel movement on the bed with a chuck under me, and I'll have them throw it away. It's just disgusting. And so yeah, I'm pretty much like a baby. He had to get up early in the morning, like it's like feeding a baby a bottle. Well, he had to feed me medication, I guess. Like, yeah, so I'm pretty sure, yeah, it's like the same, I guess. But anyways, changing me, showering me. um, let me see. Where was I at? Bedbound for a month. Oh, and when I was bedbound, when I was bedbound, my dad, even before, like when I was first paralyzed, when I was first injured, my dad, he would like sand my feet with do a whole foot pedicure. He would sand my heels with the sander thing, and he'll cut my toenails. One time hit him in the eye. That's funny. But yeah, he would do all that, and he would wrap up my feet because I had pressure sores on my feet, and he'll be all proud, like how nice it looks. It's like wrapping up like boxer wrapping, I guess. So yeah, he takes pride in caring for me. Anyways, and so my family, they did help me a lot in the beginning, but I think after a couple months, that's when they decided like they want me to do everything on my own. And um and and it was they gave me a lot of tough love, after I end up recovering, like after a couple months. They wanted me to do things on my own. They want to just give me tough love. When my sister, when my sister's husband, my brother-in-law, offers help, she'd be like, "Don't help him." She'd be like, "Don't help him." Anyways, and I thought it was rude how my family was like that at first until I seen this one guy's video. I'll leave in the comments as well. I seen this one guy's video, and he mentioned how his mom, he's a amputee. Anyways, his mom used to make him do everything on his own. He couldn't reach something, he couldn't get the remote. He used to ask her for help, and she wouldn't. And he thought she was being mean, but she told him that she's not going to be there forever. And so now he's independent. He's working now. He skateboards. That's very interesting. He's an amputee, but skateboards around. That's pretty cool. Anyways, so I seen that one guy's video at least like a year and a half ago, and it changed my mindset. Being paralyzed, you got to learn to change your mindset and try to think positive. So, okay. So, and speaking of help, let me tell you a story of when I was in rehab. There's this one kid in rehab, and his family was very supportive for him. His dad, his sister, the dad was saying, "Oh, his sister is going to like get in medical school, take care of him, this and that." And the father, it was just, they're very supportive. And I was very mad at that time. I was very mad. I'm like, why isn't my family like that? Especially after getting shot. But then again, I did this to myself. I thought everybody was my friend. I stood up for somebody that I thought was my friend when I should have worried about myself. But what happened happened, and just gotta just move on. So, anyways, so yeah, they're very supportive, uh, which kind of like made me mad, like I said at that time. But just thinking of it now, I'm pretty sure after 3.5 years since I seen him at rehab, pretty sure he's struggling with daily tasks, But either or, I wish for the best for him, you know. And that's why it's not good to always have family helping you or people helping you, because you're not going to learn how to do everything on your own. You're most likely going to rely on a call button. And speaking of call button, my a certain family member told me I'm always going to rely on call button, because I'm always like pressing the button, asking the nurse, give me water, do this and that. And when that certain family member told me that, for me personally, I'm very competitive, and so I was like, I'll show this person wrong. I'm not going to rely on a call button. I learned to do transfer on the toilet, do my bowel movement. I learned to do everything on my own, So yeah, sometimes you just need that little negativity to help you, push to succeed. Sometimes you also need that tough love, but also support. Anyways, let me see. Um, where was I at? Hold on. I find what. Let me see. So yeah, and so yeah. Anyways, so and there's one time when I wanted my family or my sister to help me because I had a turtle shell brace on because my spine was fractured from mid back down. My spine was fractured because I was shot with the 45. But anyways, so I was limited in movement, and my legs was very stiff. It wasn't flimsy how it is now. So, anyways, and my shoe fell off. And being paralyzed, our shoe falls off a lot, and it's very annoying. So, but I'm pretty good at putting my shoes on now. So, anyways, so my shoe fell off, and I was asking my sister, my shoe fell off in the car, and I asked my sister, "Can you help me put my shoe on?" And they were just ignoring me, my whole family. And at that time, I got mad. I'm like, "Why aren't you guys helping me? Like, why aren't you guys helping me? Stop ignoring me." I was like, but yeah, and after having a little, tantrum or whatever, my sister ended up helping me, you know. But so let me see. So, and like I mentioned, even with my brother-in-law, when he tried to like offer to help me throw something away or something, my sister would say, "No, don't help him," you know, which she is right. You know, I don't need help. That's the only way to learn. And so, a lot of people will tell me, "How are you so good at your transfers? How you like, I make it look easy." It's because my family, they weren't too supportive in certain things, but only if it like involves my safety. And I'll tell you some what I'll tell you what I mean about that. So if it's something that they know I could possibly do, they won't help me. Like putting shoes on and stuff like that. Um, they want me to try on my own. Learn on your own. So yeah, let me see. Yeah, and so yeah, so my family. Let me see. I already mentioned that. So yeah, but like I mentioned about learning to move on and to learn from your mistakes, because I was set up and portrayed from a friend in a home invasion. Next week, I'm actually doing a collab with another gunshot victim, but for him, he's going to cover up his face, or he covered up his face for the video he sent me, because how paranoid he is of the people that shot him. He was paranoid of the people that shot him possibly seeing the video. So, so yeah, and we're going to pretty much be talking about PTSD and why we don't like to go out. And I could probably make a separate video on how I end up like kind of dealing with my depression and what I do to try to help me move on from all that. So, anyways, so I'll be uploading that video next week, possibly next Friday. So yeah, so because of the tough love, and because my family want me to be independent because they're not going to be around, I'm able to transfer on my own, shower on my own, put on my clothes, socks and shoes. Like I mentioned, I couldn't put on my shoes back then, and now I am. And so when I was at the shoe store, my dad he bought me Velcro shoes because he thought I still struggled putting on my shoes. Anyways, uh, I ended up trying on regular shoelace, or no, I was putting back on my shoes, which has laces, and it just looked like my dad was like pretty like proud of me that I'm able to put on my shoes in like 5 seconds. I'm able to tie it and there. So yeah, so because they want me to be independent, they give me the tough love. Uh, I'm able to do all those things: transfer, shower, put on my clothes. It's almost like second nature to me, uh, because I had to learn on my own. I didn't have my family tell me. Um, and speaking of, I think I skipped that part. And speaking of family to help you, there was a para guy that I was talking to. He was mentioning he's not a quad, just to let you guys know. He's a para. I don't know if he has core stability, but either or, I don't either. But he told me that he he's afraid to transfer like out of his bed, and he has to wait for his family to help him. I'm not telling you guys this to bring him down, but it's just a great story to tell you guys, like why it's good to learn on your own, so you don't have to rely on people. So yeah, and I mentioned to him, I was afraid at first, you know, because when you transfer, you kind of had to lean forward a bit, and so it kind of felt like I was going to fall. And so I totally understand, why he's scared, because I was at one point. Until when I was in rehab, there's a lady. She told me, you could transfer without a sliding board. And then I was like, "Can you show me?" And she showed me, and I was like, So I pretty much learned from other paras than people in rehab, pretty much. Um, yeah, because like when I'll be in rehab, oh, actually, I think I skipped that part. Let me see. So yeah, anyways, speaking of rehab, I seen on Reddit this one post that I'm gonna read to you guys. Somebody posted on Reddit. I was given a wheelchair a few weeks back, having used it due to anxiety, often causing myself a lot of pain to walk. I haven't been given any tips or training by medical professionals on how to use it, such as hill climbing and decent transitions of curbs. Can I get a few helpful tips, please? I really should start using it. So, like I mentioned, that's a very great question, by the way. So, like I mentioned, I learned from other paras. So, when this person mentioned they need professional help, like going to rehab, people in rehab, they're limited on knowledge. They learn from books, while people like me or disabled people, we learn off of experience. So, you're going to learn more from other disableds than professional, uh, people in rehab, pretty much. So yeah, because when I was in rehab, I didn't know how to transfer back in my wheelchair after a fall, and so I was trying to learn how. And they will show me a video of somebody transferring and tell me like try to like look what he's doing, look what he monkey see monkey do, look what he's doing and try to do that. And yeah, and I actually mentioned about that little story about the person rehab showing me the video. I mentioned that story in that one video I did, how to get back up in your wheelchair after a fall. I'll be leaving that video in the comments as well. So don't forget to check the comments for all those videos. Anyways, so yeah. So anyways, when I noticed that I started doing better, um, or my dad as well, was when I ended up dropping something in the fridge. I believe I am dropping something, and like I didn't get mad because back then I used to yell all the time. I used to yell out those people's names that did this to me. I'll say effing, this and that. You did this to me. Pretty much felt like sorry for myself back then. But now it's like I draw something. Sometimes I'll take a deep breath. I'll just pick it up, or I just pick it up, and it is what it is, pretty much. So, anyways, so yeah. So, what did you think when I was there and you told me like I'm proud of you're like I'm proud of you. You didn't get mad. Like what?
It was a big change because from the beginning, you would cuss up a storm, you were angry, and I would tell you at rehab, use that anger to make things easier for yourself. You figure it out. You see where you made your mistakes at, and you go back and try it step by step. And we're there to help you and catch you if you fell. But the majority of the time, you were able to. Once you did it yourself and you figured it out how to do it, you mastered it from that point on. And that was what restroom transfers to the bath to the bed. The bed was your big struggle, and you were able to do that with the bed. The car, getting into the car, you couldn't figure it out in the beginning, but once you did, you took off from there to where you figured out how to get into a lifted truck on your own.
Which I did a video about.
And every time you drop something or something would break, you get pissed off and you start screaming and cussing, and you'd have a meltdown. And the last time you dropped something, you just sat there and then you picked it up. You didn't say anything. That was a big change, a big step for you.
And of course, I still have my ups and downs. But even when I am feeling down, like now, after 3.5 years, I still don't yell. I just huff. And I'll pick it up. I'll watch some videos to distract my mind. For me personally, I always have to be on my phone. I always have to watch something like TV to distract my mind, being a gunshot victim. I can make a whole separate video on how I end up dealing with my depression. So, yeah, and 4th of July is coming. Yesterday, I heard some fireworks. Honestly, I'm proud of myself. I haven't freaked out like I used to. I haven't had much flashbacks, but I still get images every now and then. Uh, like this is a little off topic. I was on Snapchat, and right when I'm feeling like I moved on, which I think I did for my shooting, somebody posted a Snapchat video of different clips of people getting shot in their face. I'm like, the devil is alive. It's a test. Like for those religious people, it's a test from God. Like I feel like when you're trying to move on, the devil or whoever, bad spirits, is trying to bring you back down. You just gotta like overcome it and try to stay positive. Try to ignore it, say it is what it is. I cannot do nothing about it. And just use that anger to fuel you. Like my father said, I use my anger to fuel me. Like when a certain family member told me, you're going to always rely on a call button, I proved that person wrong. And every time I did learn how to do something, my dad was at the store, like he was out because he had to eat. He has to, because he was staying at me at the rehab. It was so when he was out, that's when I learned how to transfer on the toilet. I'm like, oh, you missed it. I just learned how to do this. Oh, I just learned how to do that. And I used to get mad trying to put on a brace, and I can make a separate video about how I put on a brace, and I can tell you a story about all that. Anyways, and so yeah, I used to use my anger to help me. And so when I was in rehab, I could not do certain things. I couldn't transfer. I think I was trying to get from the floor to the wheelchair, on my knees, trying to, that one technique. Anyways, I couldn't. After that guy was like, do what this guy's doing, show me the video. Anyways, and I was like mad. I was like punching the mat. I was on the floor and I was punching the mat. And my dad was like, it's all right. My dad was like, it's all right. That's how he learns. I use my anger to, to help me. And so, yeah, and so I ended up learning to transfer because I use my anger. I'm like, I don't. I'm very competitive. I was in cross country and track. I'm very competitive, and so for those that want to learn how to do things, sometimes you should use your anger to help you for the good, at least. So, so yeah, and like I mentioned about the kid in rehab, I'm pretty sure like after 3.5 years, he's probably still struggling, and so because his family was too supportive for him, and just like certain fam, certain parents say, they just gotta let sometimes their kids had to learn on their own, and they're right. So I wish the best for him and the para friend that needs his help, family help to transfer. Anyways, and I only mentioned those stories not to bring them down because they're great stories. It's related to this video. On how I end up becoming pretty good at things I do. And if you're not able to do certain things on your own, at least try it first. And if you can't, then ask for help, especially if it's regards of your safety. Just like when I had a wound flap surgery, I was bedbound, my leg fell off. I could not do that myself because I didn't want to rip out my wound flap. I had stitches, and so I had to call for help. Uh, I'd be like, Dad. Anyways, I had to call for help, and my dad had to pick up my leg. Uh, when my sister, when my sister hears a thud, like something fall or whatever, she'd be like, "Are you all right? Am I fine?" Most times I am. Sometimes I do fall. That's why I don't stretch on my bed anymore. I could make a separate video about that. Anyways, so I do appreciate them asking, if I'm alright or I need help. Uh, and another thing, another thing that regards of my safety was when I was showering. Showering, if you need help in the shower, definitely ask for help. You know, but anyways, so I was showering and somehow the legs of the shower chair ended up going up, and so I end up like the shower chair tilted, and I'm trying to bounce myself on like three legs, and I'm like yelling for my dad, Dad, help me, help me, I'm gonna fall, I'm gonna fall. I was freaking out like a baby. My dad was like, it's all right. I'm like, I'm gonna fall, I'm gonna fall. Anyways, um, so yeah, so my dad came um to put my legs back together, you know. Um, Let me see. And when my wheelchair brakes didn't work, my dad will hold my wheelchair when I transfer in the car oops, because on the curb, your wheelchair will keep rolling back when you're trying to transfer in the car or out of the car. And so he has to hold it. And one time he didn't, because he was getting the mail, I think, and I was transferring in my wheelchair. Because of the momentum, my wheelchair spun around and I ended up in the grass. And my dad, he was like, he just last thing I seen from him was he turned around with his hands out like that's able to help. It's like, are you right? And I was like, but yeah, let me see. So yeah, like I mentioned about the wheelchair, sometimes I feel like it could be tiring for my dad putting in and out my wheelchair because it makes me tired just look at it, looking at him do it. And I'm pretty sure it's hard, going back and forth with the insurance, trying to get the right equipment, um, and dealing with pressure sores and taking them to the hospital when I get sick, picking up antibiotics. Um, anyways, hope. Anyways, hopefully I was able to answer your guys' questions on how I'm able to be really good at my transfers and just overall things after being paralyzed. Um, because after about 2.5 years, it ended up becoming second nature to me. And that's when I started YouTube. I started YouTube about a year and 4 months, I think. But anyways, so yeah, if you keep practicing, it's going to be second nature to you. Um, and that's all because thanks to my family for giving me uh thanks to my family giving me tough love and wanting me to do things on my own. So I want to be independent and be very good at my transfers. And all of you guys notice that. So I'm like, oh, I guess I am doing pretty good. uh, so yeah, but like I said, don't forget to check the comments for some videos of how to get back up in the wheelchair after you fall. The collab video on knowing to knowing to what was it? How to know when it's okay to get help from somebody, because I know a lot of people don't. A lot of people disabled don't like getting help, and we explained all that in that one video. So, anyways, I appreciate my dad for joining my live and recording most of my videos, like when I go to chiropractor and stuff like that. So I appreciate him, being my little guinea pig, being my little guinea pig. He'd be like, "What am I supposed to do?" Anyways, so yeah, so don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.